live. Awesome. So, episode 2. Welcome to the Truth Podcast, TechTruth Podcast. I'm Carson here with Lambo. We're just two talent geeks bringing you real talk from some of the most innovative IT leaders in the industry. We'll be sharing their journey, lessons learned, maybe a facepalm or two. Today's guest is Tim Witos, seasoned InfoSec executive whose journey through the ranks of cybersecurity and IT management in Fortune 100 companies has been nothing short of remarkable. Career spans groundbreaking roles in global security, from spearheading R&D to leading comprehensive information security governance. He brings a wealth of knowledge in cloud security, risk management, and data privacy. Expertise not only in technical skills, but also in building robust, compliance-aligned security frameworks makes him a forerunner in the constantly evolving landscape of information security. Thanks for being here, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing great, Carson. That's quite an entry you had there.
Wasn't it?
I think you just made my day.
I do what I can.
He's done some research.
Yeah, no, really excited to be here.
Fortunately,
chat.
Awesome. So for those that may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind, Tim.
Yeah, Tim Witos, VP of Information Security at McKesson. Married, 3 kids, living out in Dallas, Texas. We've been here about 4 years, from Southern California and New Jersey before that. Spending our time at McKesson protecting the global supply chain of healthcare. So happy to, get some of the word out there, some of my lessons learned, and hopefully we can reach people to improve their careers.
Awesome stuff. McKesson.
So you're not hurt, since you're a transplant, you're not really butthurt about the Cowboys, huh?
No, I've got a lot of peers who are not pleased, but
they're still on PTO.
Yeah, I'm unfettered by the outcome. I think the pictures I saw of Jerry Jones that people were putting next to the news, that was interesting to watch. But
hey, y'all get to run it back again. Mike McCarthy's coming back. No drastic changes, and I think a lot of what I've been hearing from the pundits out there in the news is definition of insanity. So,
no judgment.
No. We're not trying to
Tim,
get crazy.
Yeah. Tim, I was reading something that I saw you post. I don't know. It was about details and how you're a detail guy. And I want to kind of delve a little bit further into that, just right off the top here. It could be a 30,000 foot view, but a lot of leaders in your role at the executive level are aware of details. They know they got to manage details, but how do you, at your level, and I know you probably pay attention a lot more than maybe the folks that are, maybe have blinders on and doing just their job, but how do you communicate that overall need to pay attention to those details so that stuff doesn't F up down the line? Because that's, you're responsible for that whole group. And it's the little details that are going to get you into trouble, especially in the cybersec world, InfoSec world. How do you get that message down and drill it in on a daily basis to make sure that people are paying attention to the little stuff?
Oh,
big question, I know.
No, and it's the easiest I can say it is it's just continually reinforcing and continue to introduce things that catch my eye, but most people, others may not think of it. Or when people are thinking of it, maybe they're thinking of it as, oh, someone should do that, but maybe they're not the person who thinks that they should do it. I think when the 3 of us first met, we were talking about my roller rink experience and my job in high school. Worked at a roller rink, and from helping people off the floor to being the DJ to being the general manager of the roller rink. The big thing about the roller rink was it was a family fun entertainment center. It was more about birthday parties and consistent activities. Roller skating was part of it, ice skating was part of it, but there's an arcade, there's concessions, there's food, there's birthday hosts. And then throughout that experience, you have a lot of things happening that you're in charge of. The games need to continue to operate. The games need to be clean. The windows need to be clean. You can't have people's shoes sitting on top of the tables in which they eat off of. You don't want to have the trash cans overflowing, or even to the point of being able to see trash in the trash can. So we would have people going around circling the entire facility throughout the birthday periods. When a trash can got 25% of the way full, that was the time to take it out, so that you'd never be in a situation where people could see trash either overflowing or coming out of the side. So throughout this role, I think it was 4 years across high school, just out of high school, being very aware of these details and being challenged on some of these details through secret shoppers, right? Secret shoppers are those people who come in and, you don't know they're there, but they go through the experience like any other customer would. But then they're taking notes, hey, we found 40 games. We saw 2 of them weren't working. We asked so-and-so to help us, and he helped us, and he was good, bad, or indifferent. So all those details really draw out the whole experience, the whole customer experience that you have. So throughout every job or career or role that I've had in IT or in information security, it's been the same look for me at the details. So our email signatures, do we all have consistent email signatures? Is it all the same font? Are we all using the same links for support? Are we using the right templates and imagery when we're sending notifications or scheduling meetings? Are we using templates versus just trying to type a meeting invitation to a group of people? Are we providing an experience to our peers and the people we're working with? Often we're providing support to, or we're providing collaboration in some way, but I always want to urge the team to consistently enhance that experience, and it's through those details, right? If we can have a script or a consistent message that everyone we interact with gets the same level of interaction, that's what we try to do. And we try to do that for each person on the team. They have their technical goal, security goal, but then someone might own, hey, you need to make sure this quarter that everyone has the same email signature. And like, your goal this quarter is to make sure the 15 of your peers have the same font size and consistency of signatures. So we try to make sure at least everyone has one goal that relates to the experience more so than their, just their technical tasks.
So is this attention to detail quality, is it a learned behavior, or have you always been this way as long as you can remember? And either way you answer that, can you teach this to your people or condition them, I guess, to have that attention to detail?
I don't know. What do you think? I would say I don't know if I learned it or I was always the type of mind that would just be observant. But I mean, there's always intricacies of patterns and technology, and at a movie theater, when you're sitting there watching the movie, a lot of people don't notice when you walk into a movie theater, the door's propped open. And at a lot of movie theaters, that door being propped open is automated. So it's tied to the actual start and stop time of the movie. So the amount of technology and integration to make the door pop open at the close and the door close when the movie's kicking off. Same thing within a lot of theaters now is when the movie starts, the air conditioner goes to a cooler temperature. And that's all through integrations, and it's all built around the details of the experience that they're trying to have based on all the information they have. So
Never
it's
knew
always
that.
it's always been very interesting to me to know that there's not a person opening the door at the end of each movie. It just opens, in most cases. So I can't think back far enough to say that if this is something that I just started to appreciate by being immersed in it, or if it's
Yeah.
just where my eyes started to go.
Yeah. And as you're thinking, you said, hey, well, what do you think? So I can just think of my kids. I've got a few kids myself, not as many as Carson, but and they're, they're in their late 20s, early 30s now. So I've got to see them, a long time. And my youngest is helping us edit these podcasts and create snippets. And we're like, where did he get that? And he's always been this way ever since he was a little kid. My daughter is very good at taking notes and organizational skills, and she had that at a very young age. And then my oldest son, he's always been a voracious reader, and now he's, he writes and he consumes a lot of text and reading. So I think, from them, and I don't know if it was our household or just the way they're hardwired, but has this, and can you tie that into, maybe, obviously you're an executive at a very large organization, very successful. Do you think that well, obviously I know the question, but the attention to detail and how you are inquisitive, I think it is more than anything, that's obviously translated into your success in managing teams, finding the right people for your teams. I want to get into the hiring aspect of that. I'm sure you have a lot of that attention to detail as you're moving people through the interview process. Maybe talk about that, but I know the quick answer is you're successful because of that, not just because of that, but more people probably need to be more inquisitive about details, and maybe that will help them. Have you seen other, like, maybe peers that maybe aren't as inquisitive or interested in the details that have failed because of that? And maybe talk about, mention names, but
Well, I think, and I've written this a couple times and I've always deleted, and I've been trying to figure out a way to write this and kind of to put it out there so people would understand. Um, something that I admire about my kids and my wife, they're all avid readers. They can read, they can enjoy reading. They'll get reactions from a book. Um, you know, I've never been able to burst out laughing from a book or be surprised from a book, or any of the emotions that I see them have, shock and awe from the next page. um it's fascinating to me that when I see them reading, or even sometimes when they're watching a movie and they're brought to the point of having to stand up because they're getting so ready about what's happening next. And I thought about, like, anytime I've read a book or tried to read a book or go through the whole book, it's like I'm like, nah, this guy, I know they introduced this guy, he's clearly the villain and he's going to do one of two things. And then 3 pages later, he's done whatever we think it's going to be. Or we watch a movie, it's like the way they introduce people and the way, for me, and I don't know if this is the same across the board, but I'm already thinking 10 steps down the road to the sequel, to how does this guy's life happen after the movie is done? Like,
yeah, yeah,
maybe he has a acid reflux. Maybe he has a anxiety attack and he ends up in the hospital. And then looking through that person's eyes, and I equate this back to the one thing I think I've started to acknowledge over time professionally, is that not everyone will see the next step or the next 2 steps or the next 3 steps or the 4 steps or the 5 steps. And I don't know if that's come through experience. I've worked a lot of places, a lot of industries, a lot of projects. Maybe it's come through experience and having gone through what could go wrong or will go wrong, or
yeah.
but I think a lot of it is intuition of here's what someone is presenting themselves to me as, or here's what a product is presenting itself to me as, and I can see almost immediately what I want to do next. And I don't often doubt the path that I want to go in on. I go into most things with, I'm going to start and I'll figure it out midway along the way. And, people are surely to react positively or negatively or whatever, but I'll take the risk to start and see if we can fail. And a lot of people say fail fast, but take the risk to see if we can fail fast. And I do think, my progression in my career, I think, has been able to be comfortable taking the risks to move things along, to challenge where people might hesitate to take action or hesitate to take the next step or to hesitate to expand the quality of their job. Maybe they're in a fixed process where they don't feel like there's any flexibility, but they could always be a little bit more cheery or be a little bit more helpful or be a bit, there's always things people can do that fall within what you'd expect the process to be. So as you were talking about your kids, that brought me back to, it's unbelievable to me that they can have such curious reactions to these
They're
things.
100% committed. They're immersed into what they're
Yeah.
reading, obviously.
And I cannot. I tell people all the time, I've never read a book cover to cover, not even assigned books in elementary school, whatever. I'd find a reason to read 5-6 pages. I got enough of this book.
Yeah.
And
figured it out already. I got it.
Yeah, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Do you think your attention to detail is kind of what makes you go into that forward thinking or over the horizon or around the corner when you're trying to kind of, well, one, from the book example, and then one example you're talking about, well, maybe he's got acid reflux, which is why X, Y, or Z happened, or maybe he's going to end up this way. Is it because you get, and this could go into the experience that you have professionally, is through your experience of digging into the details and uncovering certain things that will make things either better, worse, or what have you. Is that a reason why you believe you're able to look at things in at a different way or in a different perspective than others?
I think there's a fair angle to that. I think it, as I have learned more and more patterns of people over time, you can kind of pick up what may be the slowdown or the blocker, or what may not be a blocker at all. Maybe there's certain types of people you can just wink at each other and you both know you're going to go get the job done without having to go into detail, right? And I think that's the intuition, but it's also, how does someone present themselves? How are they reacting? How are they proactively shaking your hand or coming at you with hellos or goodbyes? I think a lot of those things are very much what I pay attention to, and it helps me gauge who a person is and can we work together or not work together, or maybe this person's a game changer. They can go out and disrupt anything and anything, or everything, or maybe they're just there to do the tasks and go home at the end of the day. A lot can be said by, I think, the details of a person.
Do you find that most folks that you manage or in the InfoSec, cybersec world do have that attention to detail? Because, not to say that your area of expertise isn't the most important right now, it's one of the most important, but I mean, those little details can really expose an organization's data, information, you know what I'm saying? So do you think most of the folks in your specialty are like you, or not so much?
I think we have a lot of people who I think would have similar traits where they can see multiple things on the same plane and quickly decision why that's good or bad. We have analysts who have to take time of day, person doing the activity, where they did the activity, does this seem irregular or does this seem normal? And should we or shouldn't we be concerned? We definitely have a lot of talented people who can just solve those complex problems in their mind and that level of analytics. I think we have a lot of people who they can derive an opinion and a plan based on what they see. And I think what happens there is there's a lot of hesitation in, are we confident or am I confident to execute what I'm seeing? I've never met someone without an opinion. Everyone's always got an opinion, and that opinion may scale wide or maybe very short.
There's a saying about that.
But it's the confidence to implement your opinion, right?
Yeah. Very interesting.
So, does that opinion, is that something that you work with your team on as far as coming out with that opinion? Because like you said, everyone's got one, whether or not there's hesitation to come out and say it. I think that would probably, especially in a business organization or a business world, depending where you are on that ladder or where you fall within an organization, that would bring more of the hesitation versus someone like yourself who would say, or if they notice something, they would immediately say it, right?
Because what's your leadership style? Do you encourage people to bring their opinions out, or is there time and place for it? Obviously, but yeah, what's your style?
I want to hear from everybody. I've got direct reports and I've got indirect reports, a few layers down, but I want to hear from everybody. I want to have the discussions with, whoever's considered the lowest tier of job grade up to the highest tier. Hear what they're thinking, but also have an expectation that they're going to be open to inputs. As people go through their career, we call it emotional intelligence, but I think it's more just the appreciation for other people are going through their own lives.
Yeah.
And, folks who are earlier in their career, if someone gives them feedback that maybe they're not ready to receive, let's call it negative feedback. Someone gives them negative feedback, it may not always be from a negative place. Maybe that person is having a bad day. Maybe they got acid reflux. Maybe, so I'll talk to everybody. I'll make time to talk to everybody. I'll make time to draw out their feedback if they're not feeling comfortable. But at the same time, it's like, well, why do you think he or she said it that way? Why do you think, they said it so bluntly? Why do you think? So we try to draw out that to build that appreciation that, we're all working together. I don't think anyone necessarily wants to work, right? If I didn't have to work, I wouldn't be working. So let's all get through it together.
Yeah, for me, and I don't know, I'm interested in your comment. I love to hear other people's opinions, but as a leader, I want to know if you're going to bring something up, how much did you actually think about that, right? Right. Why are you thinking about it? I'm glad you brought it up, but how deep did you go in the thought process? Are you just throwing it out there, and you want us to kind of deal with that hot potato, or, right? I want to know the why, what, who. I want to know it all, and then let's have a discussion about it. And then you seem like the kind of guy that, I get the sense you got a pretty good sense of humor. I'm sure you inject humor into difficult situations to kind of diffuse, or no, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe talk a little bit about that. You don't get to a position that you're in without being able to deal with a lot of different situations. And how do you manage, the hot potatoes, how do you do that? Is it with humor, or what? What is it?
My go-to is, well, what if there's a fire? So when someone brings out a plan, let's say they got the half a plan, quarter of a plan, whatever the plan is, commentary.
YouTube.
There must be a fire.
There must be a fire. There. You're back.
Almost. We need Scotty, the engineer, to beam him up completely.
Back.
Yes, sir.
Almost. We got to get you Tachys fiber out there wherever you're living.
Tachys. Trying. It wants to.
You got me?
I hear you.
Or is it broken up?
Video is still lagging, but we have audio.
How about now?
Can hear you.
How about video?
Video's coming back. There you are.
Pain in the tail, huh?
Oh. YouTube sucks a whole lot of data.
We got to get you on Tachys fiber out there, brother.
I got AT&T and Spectrum, and I flip-flop whenever one of them craps out.
You have fiber in your neighborhood yet?
Yeah, AT&T.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We just got that not too long ago. So what if there's a fire?
What if there's a fire? And I had I was a network engineer back in like 08, 09. And we had a boss, we had a network manager. Every time we would write up a change control document, we'd have to write it, check a bunch of boxes, and her way of saying there wasn't enough detail was, what if there's a fire? So ever since that point, what's today? Almost 20 years now. When someone comes with a half-baked plan, my first question is, what if there's a fire? And it just, I think back to her face each and every time. So,
Set the course for everything moving forward.
well, and the the people I work with, they have no idea what that means. They got no idea. So I'm sitting here saying, well, if there's a fire, people looking at me like, I got a screw loose, and I gotta tell that story every time that happens. So,
Well, it makes sense. Because I mean, what's the worst case scenario, in other words, right? Have you planned for that?
Yeah, and you know what? IT, security, everything goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. If it didn't go wrong, it's going to go wrong tomorrow. You're going to get woken up on Christmas morning with some sort of outage or issue or thing you didn't think would go as it went. You can assume in this career that it will go wrong. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but
Talking about that, do you, I'm sure there's people on your teams that are varying levels of experience. Is that something that you prepare folks for? Like when I was in the Navy, we did a lot of preventive maintenance, preventive, training, a lot of that stuff just to prepare for that, the fire. Is there a lot of that going on where you're at now or through your career as a leader? Are you always kind of pointing that out and getting prepped for that and, plan A, plan B, plan C? Is that something that's part of your operating rhythm as a leader?
not directly. It's in the back of my mind with everything, but I don't come out and say, what's your plan B? What I generally do is if a person's taking on a project or taking on a task, like I want to empower that person to go out, be successful without needing to need my help or a manager's help or somebody else's help. So my encouragement is just get started. Get started, because there's no way you're going to get ahead of what's going to go wrong. And you're not going to know what's going to go wrong until you start talking to people and figuring out what's got to be the first step and the second step. We've got folks who it'll take them 90 days to build a plan. And, Mike Tyson will say everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
Right. So you go take your perfect plan that you've built in 90 days and you take the first step outside and suddenly it's snowing out and you fall down.
Yeah.
So I'm very encouraging of just get started, because there's no way you're going to get ahead of what's going to go wrong. And it might be people going wrong. It might be logistics going wrong. You may not be able to buy what you need to buy and, get access to what you got to get access to. And there could be a whole nother COVID that, no one ever thought we'd go sit at home for 2 years.
Right.
I think
It's only
a
supposed to be
lot
2
of
weeks, yeah.
14 days.
Yeah.
I think a lot of just start applies to just in general to life. Especially in sales. You could sit there and Eric can probably vouch for this as well. When you first get into sales, there's a lot of hesitation because you don't know what you don't know. But I've always looked at that as like, that is the ideal situation, because again, you don't know what you don't know, and you're going to learn every single time Mike Tyson punches you in the face, whether it's going to be a rebuttal on a phone call, whether it's going to be an email that comes back with somebody who's got some acid reflux or what have you, and they just don't feel like it. I've been trying to put that in place with my kids, especially my older two. One of them's taken it a little bit better than the other one. The other one is highly sensitive to what could go wrong in the what if scenarios that he plays in his head quite a bit. So that hit a little bit closer to home when you said that. Just go. I mean, what's the worst that you can get told is no. And then hopefully there would be some kind of feedback or insight as to why that's a no, which is where you learn.
And no is not no. No is just
not right now.
That's feedback, not right now.
No, but no if.
Right. Yes. I forget if I told you guys this story, but I had a technology project. It was me and five people on my team, and we were moving. It's a small company, 20-person company. They were a management company for restaurant chains. So they only had 20 people. They had HR, they had accounting, whatever. They were in a small office, and they had got funding. They were going to move to a bigger office. So they had one server rack, just one rack, maybe 5-6 servers in it. And where they were in a high-rise building. They were like on the 11th floor, and they were moving to a 2-story building that they were going to own. It was going to be their whole building. So we had 5 guys, and it was a Friday night into Saturday night. We're going to go move the server rack to the new building and plug it in, and
piece of cake, man.
No complexities, no nothing, right? No problem, no harm, no foul. So this is one of the first projects where I was like trying to be hands off. I was trying to be like, we've got 5 people. Like you can go rent the truck. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And so we got one rack, right? What is a rack? Rack's 7 feet tall. So we show up. It's like 4 p.m. in the afternoon, Friday afternoon. We show up, and this guy rents a 25-foot box truck, biggest possible truck he could find. And I'm like, man, great job. Why such a big truck? He goes, it's the only one that had the elevator on the back. So to get the lift gate on the back of the truck, I guess whatever they had this 25-foot box truck. That's the one. So I'm like, all right, cool. So this guy drives in Southern California traffic from A to
Oh my
B
God.
in a 25-foot box truck. I'm like, great. So, I didn't do any due diligence. I'm like, I assume they're in a high rise. There's probably a freight elevator. There's probably a loading dock. All these things, they're just there. I didn't ask any questions. So we get there, 4 p.m. Now we got this 25-foot box truck with the elevator on the back. And I'm like, all right, how are we gonna get this rack down to the loading dock? And he's like, all right, we've got access to the freight elevator, but we can't use the freight elevator until after hours. And I'm like, all right, well, what's after hours? Like, oh, you can't use it till after 8 p.m. because people are in the building and it's a high-end building and they don't want people in the freight elevator after 8 p.m. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we gotta get the rack mobile, get the wheels up, whatever, get ready to go on this short hallway journey down to the freight elevator for 8 p.m. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess in the interim, let's get the truck to the loading dock. And the way it was the loading dock was a garage under the building. And it's this driveway that's not much wider than the 25-foot truck that we're planning to back up down this driveway. This 25-foot truck back up down this driveway. It's a lot longer than anyone would be comfortable backing up through. So he starts backing up down this thing. The 4 other guys are trying to direct him where he's going. It ain't working. So we're like, hey, there's a, 30 feet of road past the loading dock. So maybe we can just drive it in and then go that 30 feet of road and then just back it up into the loading area. So in this garage, this extra 30 feet, the owner of the building's got his 2 Ferraris sitting there. He keeps them stored.
Oh, no.
Stored there, right? So I get in this truck with the guy who had rented it, and we're driving forward down the driveway to use that 30 feet and thinking we're gonna roll it back. So we get right to the end of where the loading dock is, and suddenly the truck starts to rumble. It's bumping up and down. And I'm like, the first thing I look at is, did we hit one of the Ferraris, right? Did we hit one of the Ferraris? Like, oh my gosh, did we hit one of the Ferraris? Well, no, we're scraping against the air conditioning unit that's at the top of the garage. So now I'm like, oh no, when we try to pull back from under this thing, it's going to fall down on the Ferrari. And by the way, in a 25-foot box truck, your insurance doesn't cover damage to the roof. So we learned that later on. Anyway, so we get this truck, we give up trying to back it up into the gate. We're like, all right, we're just going to push the rack down the hill. We're going to finagle the rack onto the elevator, and we're just going to do this as hardcore as we can. There's 5 of us. Why not? So the truck is there. We're all pushing this thing. And then the guy who drove the truck went to go get the straps. And one of the other guys was like, hey, hold up, ho, 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 ho. And we look, and the guy who was driving the truck is flat out on the ground.
Oh my God.
So he went up to the cab of the truck to get the straps. He slipped off the step, fell, Superman style backwards.
Oh.
And, 25-foot truck, the cab is probably 4 feet off the ground, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he falls down, lands on his head. He's knocked out. The other guy's trying to figure out, should we try to wake him or do we drag him to the hospital? What do we do? So his head's bleeding and he's laying on the ground. The other guy, I'm like, all right, man, you got to take him to the hospital, but we also got to get the work.
Truck.
We got to get the work done.
Take the Ferrari.
So these 2 guys leave, takes him to the hospital. After the hospital, he took him home to his house. me and the other guy finished the move, which ultimately was me having to drive this 25-foot truck across, the 405 freeway in Southern California to where this new office was. And we get there, we unload it, on the other side, it's much easier. We just pop it in, turn it on, and no problem. But, the next day, now you've got a hurt employee. You've got a box truck that you've got damage to the roof, which is not covered by your insurance, and there's going to be some claim. So that was like $1,400, that charge. And then we got the work done Monday morning. It came in, everything worked. But like I said, everything will go wrong. So just start and just keep pivoting and turning, and hopefully it's never that bad for anybody. But I've had many hurdles like that.
Hey, you never think you're gonna, during a work install, you're gonna have somebody on IR afterwards. I mean, and the thing, I'm paying attention to details. I'm taking notes. I think next time we got to do a move, I'm bringing a first aid kit. I'm just saying. That's what I learned. Helmets. Oh yeah.
Everyone's in full emergency gear.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Tim, why are we bringing helmets to this move? Hey, don't worry. I got your back. I know from experience.
Find out later.
Well, I know we're coming up on time, Carson. I don't know if you got some final questions, but I really enjoyed hearing you, Tim, and learning a little bit about you. I'm sure our audience is going to get some good information out of that. I think you're funny. I'd love to go grab a beer with you one of these days when I'm in Dallas. So I don't know. You've probably been everywhere. I heard San Diego, Jersey, Dallas. What's the best for y'all? What do you like?
Whatever his wife says.
Yeah, what's funny is for wherever I go, I never have an appreciation for where I am. I'm always, I'm always in my mind. I'm always somewhere else.
So true.
So Wyoming. Wyoming's great. I've been in every county in Wyoming. So
really?
Yeah, we got to deploy video conferencing out to the Supreme Court of Wyoming, which meant go to every single courthouse in Wyoming.
Okay.
Wow.
So
did you run into some bison?
Bison. I got a ticket that prevented me from getting my license in Texas, which I got that cleared up. But Wyoming was cool. Texas is great. California is great. New Jersey is great. There's so many good things about so many places. But like,
oh yeah,
my other part of the family, like they like to go outdoors. They like to see the sights. They like to, and that's not something I can empathize with.
Wyoming's cowboy country. They're, they probably have the same perception of what Texas is as what I think Wyoming is, which is just plains, right? With some mountains, a little bit of snow here and there, probably cold as all get out up there right now, which is fine. It's cold enough here as it is. As you just went through the same thing up there in Dallas, probably a little bit colder than what it was down here over the last couple days. But yeah, well, I've only lived in two different places, Houston and Austin. That's my variation, which isn't that crazy. Just a little bit more cedar up in Austin, which is, from an allergy standpoint, that was a beat down. Last question for you, and this is kind of more geared towards security, and again, we've kind of touched on the fact that you are to some degree a soothsayer, right? Because you can see further down the road. What's an upcoming trend in cybersecurity, information security, maybe in IT that maybe isn't getting enough attention, or that you feel is probably something that folks should be paying more attention to?
Yeah, good question. I know a lot of companies pay attention to their third-party risk. They talk to their suppliers. They want to know what their suppliers are doing and do they maintain security and good hygiene. But a lot of the incidents that you see in the news are happening either because of a supplier or happening to a supplier. And as companies, as companies who are not technology companies, right? McKesson's a healthcare distribution, medical supply provider, right? We're not necessarily a technology company. So to fast track what we want to do is adopting supplier solutions, partner solutions, or having solutions built by partners versus building ourselves. And I know for a long time, right, people have been using cloud services and SaaS services and things like that. But the earlier days of SaaS services, there wasn't as many newsworthy events or incidents as you're seeing. So I think the moving to treat the supplier risks with the same level of urgency as you do treat your own risks is going to grow. And I think the awareness of your suppliers using suppliers and your suppliers using suppliers, and how far does it go and how far can you see and where are your impacts. I think that'll become the forefront of security.
A lot more opportunity to break down some of that security with more people in that chain that you were talking about. A lot more areas to get into. But yeah, man, it's crazy out there. I mean, I just was experienced last night. I know we're at the end of this, but just simply, my friend posted something about somebody that I knew passed away, and I thought it was legit. I click on the link, and now all of a sudden, my wife's getting spam emails. My friends are getting things. Did you send this to me? Did you send that to me? And I'm like, all I did was click onto my buddy's link that he shared with me, and put a name in there that I knew that somebody passed. And it was obviously it was, I shouldn't have clicked on that link, but I mean, they're getting really good. The bad guys are getting good and better. Yeah.
Thought Tim was shocked by your story. I think he froze.
I'm back.
What's up? Audio's good.
Sorry.
We are coming back on time, coming up on time, I should say. Tim, if you could hear us. Check. I don't want to end it with the still photograph.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
What can go wrong will go wrong.
There you go. Amen. No, I think I think a lot of that's being maybe discussed internally, but a lot of that isn't actually being put out there. There's just so much change and stuff going on. So I can definitely appreciate that. Yeah, want to thank you again for the time. If you're up for a round 2 or a part 2, would love to do that. But again, been great to talk with you, and I appreciate you giving some insight into you and what you're all about. And we look forward to doing this again.
Yeah,
just depends
likewise.
on schedule, of course.
Yeah, internet connections.
Yes.
Yeah. Next time we can do it from a bar or something.
There you go.
Maybe we can come up
Appreciate you.
closer to home.
Yeah. No, it was great catching up, guys. Really appreciate having me on.
Have a great weekend.
Great discussion. Yeah, you too. We'll see you.
Thanks, Tim. Take care.
All right, we'll see you guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.